A very good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Soumya Singh, a penultimate year student of Damodaram Sanjivaya National Law University, Vishakhapatnam, and media head and editorial in charge at SLN. Today, we have gathered here for a special occasion. खूबसूरत आगाज हो तो मंजिल का सफर भी खूबसूरत हो जाता है. If the beginning is aesthetic, the rest of the journey becomes beautiful. With this belief, Team SLL takes the first step towards a beautiful journey of 1,000 miles. We are overjoyed and extremely delightful to all the people who have gathered today in order to share our happiness of turning one. Yes, you heard it right, we turned one today. Now, I request Pragya to share the beautiful journey of SLL with all of us. Thank you so much, Pragya. So, in the last 1 year, we have conducted various interview series, conferences, lecture series, workshop, and webinars, which With an aim to increase constitutional literacy, we came up with the idea of Samvidhan Samvad Sang Tarunab Khaitan in collaboration with Live Law, and the episodes are jointly hosted by our founder, Mr. Rajesh Ranjan, and law researcher and columnist, Ms. Surbhi Karwa. We even conducted first online women conference, Sam Samvad, in collaboration with Vidhi Varenium Foundation, SCC Online, and EBC Publications with the aim to ignite minds to build an inclusive and egalitarian society for our women. Through the conference, we acknowledge the prejudices, body fascism, and even gender stereotypes held against women, and we celebrated womanhood in the fields of entrepreneurship, literature, journalism, and law. We even introduced Project Aapki Bhasha to cover policies, rules, regulation, and statutes into different Indian languages to reach the people and bridge the gap of social policy and legal literacy among the masses. As a part of this project, we even collaborated with Criminal Law Reform Awareness Project in order to increase constitutional literacy and to connect masses with the Constitution, we collaborated with Center for Law Policy and Research, wherein we translated their scholarly articles and research papers into Hindi language. We also organized a lecture series on decoding Constitution in unconstitutional times, through which we observed that the current unusual constitutional time is marked by the extraordinary degree of undemandness and the politics of Viswas. In the fond memory of late Professor Shamnath Bashir, we even conducted first Shamnath Bashir Memorial Lecture on diversity, inclusion, and access to legal education to celebrate his wonderful life that touched many lives. We are obliged and thankful to the members of the advisory board who were always there as a shining light in the dark to guide us to the right path. We have just taken a single leap as the whole journey awaits. Now, I may request Dr. Om Prakash, Assistant Professor in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, NLU Jodhpur, to say a few words.
I think it's really very commendable, see, I can see here by seeing these your PPTs and PowerPoints. I was just one aware about this Samvidhan Sambad. So many activities you people have conducted that is really very, very appreciative. And I think this is something, which must continue. And I just say all the best for you. And in future, if you have any assistance, do in fact don't feel shy to be in touch with me, and I think I can also be part of your initiatives. So it's really wonderful, and thank you, Rajesh, and all of your team. In fact, it's really wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your constant support. Now, I may request Professor Akash Singh Rathod, an author and philosopher of international repute, who is also our advisory board member, to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Well, what I would like to say is mostly how impressed I am with the activities that you've undertaken in one short year. I advise a lot of centers and institutions and even so-called think tanks. And what I find is that I'm always giving them ideas one after the other every meeting, and they're never doing any of them. And with you, even though I'm called an advisor by you, I never give you any ideas. You're always bouncing off ideas on me. So it makes it very easy to advise you because you're actually the ones coming up with all of the ideas and putting in all the effort. So I think it's remarkable how dynamic you are. And I'm really happy to be associated with this project. I hope there'll be 10 more years that we'll be celebrating soon, not just one.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I may request Ms. Pragya to proceed with the launch.
Yeah, am I audible from?
Pragya, you are audible.
Yeah. So a very good afternoon to each and everyone present here. My name is Pragya Garg. I am a second year law student at Kriti Mehta School of Law, NMIMS Bombay. I am the managing editor of Social Legal Literary, and today I derive immense pleasure in launching our second initiative, Constitution Connect. As somebody has very rightly said that दर्जनों भाषा सैकड़ों विधि हजारों विधान है जो जोड़कर सबको साथ रखे वो संविधान है. We are committed to connect the Constitution of India with the people whom it governs and to shape the vision of we the people of India by removing the linguistic and technological hindrances from everyday life of the masses. We strive to make Constitution a people's constitution. As Dr. Ambedkar said, Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always the spirit of age. The Constitution must be taken from the corridor of a courtroom to the courtyard of village. The dream of the founding fathers is our dream. We aim to spread the essence of our constitution in every community, every part of India. And one of the major reasons of the gap between the people and our constitution is the language barrier and the access to basic legal knowledge. Therefore, we aim to translate the texts into Indian regional languages. So far, we have managed to acquire the translated texts into Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Odia, Marathi, Hindi, Bengali, and Assamese. For this, we have Ms. Rudrakshi Mendhe, Ms. Nehal Shelke, and Mr. Venudeep as the core team members of Constitution Connect. They have helped us from past 2-3 months to acquire the texts and to translate them into these languages. Now, I would request Soumya to please screen share and launch our website. This is the website which we have managed to create by ourselves. So currently we have managed to convert the preamble into 5 different languages: Hindi, Malayalam, Marathi, Bengali, and Tamil. And we have enabled a feature in our website in which whoever is accessing the website, they can convert the whole thing into their regional language. For example, if somebody is not able to read English, they can easily convert the website into Bengali, Malayalam, Marathi, Urdu, Tamil, Telugu. So through this, we hope that more and more people are able to read the content on our website, and each of the material will be converted into these Indian regional languages. Now, I would like to talk about Samvidhan Samvad and Professor Tarunab Khaitan, who has helped us in framing and forming this idea of Constitution Connect, and who helped us throughout the journey as to how we can really go to each and every village of our country and give people access to justice and legal knowledge. So Professor Tarunab Khaitan has played a major role in helping us with the coming up with the idea of this platform. Our monthly constitutional law series, Samvidhan Samvad, in collaboration with Live Law, is the first project under this platform. It is also available on Spotify and iTunes. We truly thank him from the bottom of our hearts to always support and encourage us. Now I would like to play a very small video of him, which he managed to send us to uh, for the launch, because he couldn't be here right now.
I think he's doing it.
Yeah.
साक्षरता बढ़ाने में राजेश लीगल लिटरेरी की टीम जो सराहनीय काम कर रही है उसके लिए मेरी भरपूर शुभकामनाएं. Hopefully you guys will be a model to students across the country and indeed the world in explaining constitutional ideals and processes to the people in whose name these constitutions seek to govern.
So that was Professor Taranab Khitan. Now I would like to welcome our guest, Ms. Shruti Vishwanathan, founder of the Equals Project, to speak a few words. Ma'am.
Sure. So first of all, I want to say congratulations. I think the work that you all have done seems astounding. I only wish I had been half as productive when I was a law student. So I am beyond impressed by everything that you managed to put together while also dealing with law school and the schedule that comes. So congratulations. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Shruti Vishwanathan. I run an initiative called the Equals Project, which looks to promote conversations around equity and the Constitution with children and young adults, so largely high school and or adults in undergraduate courses. That's what our target audience is. And maybe what might be useful is briefly to talk about a few principles, I think, that form the foundation of what we do at the Equals Project, and I think which resonates quite well with what all of you are doing at SNL. There are three basic things, right? One is the idea that India is a negotiated nation. So obviously we all know that the India we know today was born on 15th August 1947. But the India before that didn't necessarily have a common social, historical, cultural, any sort of common grounding really, right? So if you look at the kingdoms or the presidencies that are in place before independence comes around, they're vastly different. If you look in terms of social norms, in terms even of their attitude to governance. So you have Aun, which is the small city-state in Maharashtra, where in 1938, the king steps down and institutes a Gandhian constitution. And for 10 years, till before the Indian constitution comes into place, in Aun, that's that constitution that's in power, and it's the first instance of constitutional republic in modern India. At the same time, you have kings in largely the Rajput kings in Rajasthan who trace their lineage to the sun god and the moon god, and who believe in the divine right to rule. You have the Madras presidency, which is already electing people to the legislature and which already has women legislatures. Similarly, Travancore is already talking about adult franchise, and in other places where that is completely unheard of. So the first point really is that what I think is useful to remember about the constitution creation process is all these different parts of India came together and made an active choice to say that these are the values and these are the rules that will bind us together as a nation moving forward. Now we can argue how much choice each individual had in acceding to the constitution, but in some way or form, all these representatives came together, agreed to be bound by certain values and certain ways of governing, which are largely reflected in our constitution. The second principle is that force lines in India of 2021 are very similar to force lines of India in 1947 or 1950. I think we tend to, in history or classes or in law schools, or in public life in general, we tend to paint quite a rosy picture of how the Constitution came to be created. yes, there were incredible men and women who wrote the Constitution who were able to rise above certain parochial interests. And yes, there are very progressive ideals that are enshrined in the Constitution that we should all hopefully work towards. But at the same time, there's a lot of bitterness and infighting that's happening in the Constituent Assembly. So to give you a couple of examples, one of the tragic things about partition is in the Constituent Assembly, the remaining Muslims are looked at with a lot of suspicion. And there's a gentleman called Hasrat Mohani who's been elected from the United Provinces, who's talking about federalism, the role of the state and the center, and about the rights of minorities. And someone in the Constituent Assembly heckles him and says, go to Pakistan. And this is a taunt that I think a lot of us see in like 2021 India, and it's quite common for people to heckle with that sort of taunt, right? There's a bitter division on language. I mean, the Madras presidency threatens to walk out of the Constituent Assembly on the basis of language, because what should be the national language if there should be one? Those who say, look, Tamil and Telugu are the ancient languages, it's really rich literary tradition. If you want a national language, let's go there. But there's a really prominent and numerically strong lobby of a Hindi lobby from the North Indian states that ultimately, does win the way. It's wins in many issues. But the bitterness that this language issue causes is really deep. And there's Frank Anthony, who is from the Mysore state, who appeals to the Hindi lobby to say, look, you've got 95% of what you want. There's 5% that you haven't got. Why are you causing so much bitterness and division for this? And, again, reflecting quite strongly some of the issues that we see in public life today. And I think it's important to recognize the historical context in which these problems have arisen if we actually want to move forward with the debate. My second point really is there were lots of not so nice things that happened in the creation of the Constitution, even though we like to look at it with a very rosy lens most of the time, but that might not always be the case. And the third point is really that constitutional interpretation is complicated. There's Ferdinand Lassalle who says constitutional questions are questions of might, not questions of right. I think to a large extent he's right. I think lawyers tend to get caught up in the legal interpretation. What does this word mean? What was the precedent on this? But I think all constitutional interpretations always have a legal interpretation. There's a political interpretation. What is the prevailing political force? And how does a certain reading of the Constitution fit within that? And lastly, there's a moral interpretation. What is the right thing to do? What are the intents and values behind certain words and action? And how do we reflect that? So my conclusion really is that, it's complicated and constitutions are dynamic. They're living. They're changing whether we want them to change or not. They're changing whether the text of the Constitution is changing or not. Constitutions are changing. The relationship with the public is changing. The relationship with the government is changing, and it's changing with each generation. And I think it's important to engage with the Constitution and initiatives such as CONSTITUITON CONNECT and all the amazing work that you all are doing is important because we need to make an informed choice. Our actions and words have an impact on what direction the Constitution and the country is going to take, whether it's direct or whether it's fairly oblique, they do. And we want to make sure that we're making informed choices that acknowledge the context in which the Constitution is created and the context in which we are currently dealing with issues in public life today, and engage with it in whatever small way to make sure that our vision of what we want for the Indian nation going forward and how we want to negotiate this idea of India, a term that I recognize is very abused, is and the direction in which it heads. So I think what you are doing with CONSTITUITON CONNECT and the other initiatives of SNS is wonderful in promoting that active engagement and informed engagement on the Constitution. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insights. Now I would like to request Mr. Aman Wadood. He's an advocate at Guwahati High Court to speak a few words. So.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to hear you, Shruti ma'am. Uh, uh, First of all, congratulations to you all. This is an amazing initiative. I was going through your website. It's a wonderful website, and I'm sure this will be very, very helpful. And what you are doing as a law student, I can only envy you. I am 9 years into practice, and I have started it now. You guys have, I think Pragya is in second year, Rajesh in the fourth year. Amazing, amazing. I'm just, amazed. God bless you guys, and whatever you are doing, just keep this up. I mean, keep it up. Uh, in the website, you have mentioned about a quote by Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar, which he said on 26 November 1949. He says, and however good a constitution is, if the people are bad, constitution won't work. And however bad the constitution is, if the people are good, the constitution will work. On the same day or a day before, Dr. Rajendra Prasad said that constitution is basically like a lifeless machine. It depends on how it is worked on uh, by the people who will govern the constitution. If you read Granville Austin's book, he also says that constitution is inert. It depends on how it is worked on by the citizen and the guardian of the constitution, the elected representative. So if today we are complaining that the machinery is not working, the constitution is not working, so let us not blame the constitution. I don't blame the constitution. I blame the people who are the guardian of the constitution, who are responsible to uphold the constitution, constitutional values. They have failed the constitution. We have failed the constitution as a citizen of this country. And one of the reason, I think, there are people who knows about the constitution. Constitution is limited to a very small number of people. Despite knowing they are failing to uphold it, but the wider problem is that the lack of constitutional literacy, because general people, the people, we don't know about constitution, and the preamble starts with "we the people," and there is a huge gap between the people and the constitution, and that gap need to be bridged. I think this kind of initiative will go a long way to bridge that gap. When this gap is bridged, I think then we will have more well-meaning people who will work to uphold the constitution. We have started an initiative called Sambidhan Kendra. We are setting up Sambidhan Kendra in different districts of Assam in the rural areas, and to take constitution to the people. And I have come across on every person, of course, people love constitution. They have a basic idea of what constitution is. But I have come across people who have never touched the constitution, who have never, forget about reading about it. They have never touched the book, the sacred book called the Constitution of India. If this is the condition, then I don't think what is happening today is surprising, right? So people definitely should know what is the book that governs us, what are the dreams that has been enshrined, the value that has been enshrined there, what are the dreams of the founding father. If we all are aware of these ideas, of these values, then we might work together to uphold this great book called the Constitution of India. It is an unparalleled document in the history of modern nation. But very sadly, we, the citizen of India, the burden of the Constitution, are failing the values enshrined in it. If you read the preamble, you will realize that the words that has been mentioned there: justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, dignity. These are very noble words. I don't think all these words will be found in one page anywhere else. This is such a wonderful preamble that we have, and which basically give the idea what the Constitution is. The Constitution talks about about justice, and the first word is social justice. What does social justice means? It means equality, right? There is equality among everyone. No one, there should not be a category of citizens. Everyone is equal before the law. Everyone is equal in this country. But what you see today is so heartbreaking. I belong to this to Assam, where you have doubtful voters, you have original inhabitants. There is a category of citizens, right? This was not what our founding fathers actually envisaged or dreamt also, that this is what is going to be the condition of the people of this country. The constitution says dignity of individuals, right? Where is the dignity? Tell me. This is the most violated right, and we really don't talk enough about it, about the dignity of individual. I think we need to talk more about it, right? How dignity of entire community is stripped, dignity of individual is stripped, and there is hardly any conversation about it. I think the more we talk about it, the more sensitive maybe the institution will become. And I very sincerely hope that this initiative that you have started will go a long way to start that conversation in sensitizing the institutions, the people, and my belief is on we the people. I have lost faith on the other guardian of the constitution, uh, partly even on the institution that should uphold the constitution. But the people of this country, this great nation, can only save this sacred book, this great document called the Indian Constitution. And I congratulate you again. Best of luck, and let me know if I can be of any help. And I'm also deeply inspired, going through whatever you are doing. Thank you so much for inspiring me. I will also take a lot of ideas from you and will try to implement here in Assam. Thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Rathod, now if you could speak a few words about the platform and our initiative, or guide us as to how we can work in this platform.
Sorry to interrupt, Pragya. Also, there is a request, Professor Rathod, from you. One of my colleague has requested to speak on a recent book for 5 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes, if you could.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's the recent work is 5 volumes with 70 contributors. So it's I've been giving talks here and there, and trying to squeeze some kind of summary of the project into 1 hour, and it hasn't worked very well. So I don't know how I'll do 2 or 3 minutes. But first, as to what Pragya was saying about advising you, as I mentioned at the start, I think you're doing everything right. So you should just keep going and don't take random advice at this point when everything is going in the right direction. When you start to feel something is going wrong, then you take advice from old people like me. As was mentioned by a couple of people already, you're doing a remarkable job in general, but even more remarkable for your age. When I was in law school, I don't even know how many years ago, I would never have thought to do the sort of work that you're doing. Of course, we didn't have internet at that time, but even what we could have been doing, writing letters, making physical journals and so on, we didn't do. So I think you're on the right track. You don't need advice at this point. You just need to keep going. As far as the new books, so what I will say about it in just a couple of minutes is in a sense, related to what has been mentioned a couple of times about constitutional literacy. The 5 volumes, out of the 5 volumes, only half of one of the volumes, the 3rd volume, is on economic and legal justice. So only half of one volume out of 5 is devoted to aspects of jurisprudence and the Constitution, and specifically Dr. Ambedkar's work in that regard. But as was just mentioned about the preamble and the term justice, as you can probably infer, I took the idea of the title of each of the 5 volumes. The first volume is called Political Justice, the second is called Social Justice, and the third, Economic and Legal Justice. While I'm at it, the 4th one is Gender and Racial Justice, and the 5th volume is Religious and Cultural Justice. So I took the idea of naming these volumes, especially the first 3, precisely from the opening line of the descriptive part of the preamble, where justice is mentioned in that threefold way. So it was probably from the preamble where, I mean, I've been a political philosopher for 2 decades, but to be quite honest, from the point of view of political philosophy, when people speak of justice, you know, there's a very famous book by Michael Sandel on justice, Rawls's Theory of Justice, Amartya Sen's Idea of Justice, and so on. In these magnificent works where justice is spoken of, you'll be surprised to find that that even these masters and specialists don't tend to break down justice into these essential components. And yet, when we look at the operation or the operationalization of the Constitution, as was mentioned, it's something of an inert document unless it's put into practice, unless it's realized, and literacy about the instrument is a precondition for its realization. So the way that one begins to understand how the Constitution is meant to be operationalized is precisely by understanding the division of justice into these component parts, because what Dr. Ambedkar had always mentioned and very consistently and laboriously in 1947 and afterwards is that political justice is of almost no use, even though India had been struggling for that for so many decades. It is almost of no use unless there is social justice spreading the possibility of its enjoyment equally among classes, caste communities, and economic justice that allows all of the citizens to be in a position to enjoy the rights that accrue to them by virtue of political justice. So in short, I entitled these 5 volumes in the way that I did as a sort of effort, a small gesture in terms of constitutional literacy for people to realize that justice is not just the granting of a right, let's say, although that's an essential component. It's also equally the establishment or security of conditions that allow persons, especially those who are vulnerable or marginalized or disadvantaged in one way or another, to provide those conditions to enjoy those rights. And so justice as such is almost an empty concept unless each of its components, social justice, economic justice, religious justice, cultural justice, unless each of these components find mechanisms for their security and maintenance that allow the citizens of especially a diverse and very unequal population to be in a position to enjoy the sorts of rights and freedoms that we call political justice that are granted in the Constitution. So, so these 5 volumes called The Quest for Justice is a sort of effort at explaining the rationale behind the quest for justice embodied in the Constitution or inscribed into the Constitution, and breaking down all of the components that are necessary to secure in order to realize the sense or concept of justice that is there in the Constitution. So I think it's a great work, and the problem is, as I had mentioned, I've been foiled because the publisher unfortunately priced almost all of us out of the possibility of buying this book. So because of my commitment to economic justice, I will leak the PDF to some sort of a website as soon as I can get my fingerprints off of it, so that I don't suffer legal justice as a consequence of doing so. So that's what I would say about the books, and tying it into the project that you have, which once again I think is really great, and I will certainly spread it around among my students and try to get a conversation going on the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Professor Rathore, to brief us about your books, and we really think, and we really hope that we are able to read the books very soon. And the thing which you said, that to request our library to get the books, we are definitely going to do that now. So yeah, I would like to request Rajesh now to conclude.
Thank you, Pragya, Soumya, Professor Rathore, Mr. Badood, Shruti ma'am, Professor Om Prakash. I would conclude by saying that the current time is unconstitutional time. I believe so, that extraordinary time in which state is decriminalizing the dissent, the thing like NRC, Love Jihad law, people of the kind of protests that we are witnessing at the Singhu border, Tikri border, and the state attempts to delegitimize it. The remarkable resilience that we witnessed of our constitution. My question is that why cannot we say this is constitutional fascism, that in the behest of constitution, elected government is trying to behave like a dictatorial government. So our attempt as a team, or I must say that the work of Professor Rathore, although I must accept this, I read Ambedkar's preamble in PDF only. So the work of Professor Rathore, Mr. Aman Badood Samvidhan Kendra, the initiative that he took in Assam, his work on NRC, India Love Project by Samar Harlanka and Priya Ramani ma'am, Equals Project by Shruti ma'am, Live Laws Bar and Bench, these all are the inspiration for us as a law student to work on the idea of Constitution Connect. Day before yesterday, we have initiated this project to visit these schools, and almost in 10 cities, our volunteers have visited and collected the data that how schools engage with constitutions. Apart from this, we also trying to contact with Rotary Club in the different cities to collaborate with us, that how the municipalities or Rotary Club can play a pivotal role in imparting the constitutional literacy. In whole of the journey, Professor Tarnav Khitan, Survi, M.A. Rasid sir from Live Law, Manu Live Law, these are the people who shaped us, who also give a platform for us to write on or to broadcast the series on constitution. Also the Benodev, Rudrakshi, and all of our teammates who work on translating the issues and going to the fields to convince the people. That I remember the time when one of our volunteer went and talk about that why the environmental protection bill that came last year is detrimental. RA forest project that they have talked about in the field. So it's I must say that these are the teamworks, the people around us inspire us, and we hopefully commit that we would take this initiative to the level that when people engage with constitution. And as I said earlier also, that the this is the time when citizens has to come forward to protect the constitution, to claim the be the people, as Mr. Vadhu has said, that there is the only one version of constitution, that is be the people, not any other version that any political party or any person claims. That's so. And I thank Professor Rathore, Mr. Vadud, Suti ma'am, Professor Om Prakash, and all the people who were the part of this journey to launching of the Constitution Connect and the project to take constitution to the different nook and corner of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Best wishes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you, Professor Rathore.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with